Hello, Professor. This is my artifact 3, and this one is centered on creating a first and third person camera toggle ability instead of having the original project's timed camera component. So that it would automatically switch back and forth between first and third person. I also created a camera arm component that acts like a spring arm, so that it does um, when the player moves around, it gives some spring ability, um, so that it doesn't jerk back and forth, which is really nice. I really like that. So all of this was created in C++. Oh, also I created a zoom function. So in third person, the player is able to zoom in and out, and that, of course, since everything is done in C++, can be edited so that the player or I can adjust it to zoom in farther or zoom out farther. So this is the header for function here. Um, the private here, this is all what I created for the different functions. So I actually started from the ground up with a very blank project, um, so that I would be able to create my own character movement. So character movement is horizontal movement here. Vertical is forward and back. Rotation, vertical rotation. A jump function here. So I can use Unreal's jump feature, but then also have it checking so that the player can't double jump or just jump endlessly up into the sky. um, Here's the zoom function and switching between the different first person and third person. So those are here. These are the properties so that I can edit them inside of the Unreal Engine as well. So we'll skip over to the CPP file. This is where I created all of the different assets. So obviously these came standard, but here this is for the camera. So I created the camera there, and this is the camera arm feature. So creating it, called it spring arm, attached it to the root component, which is the player. Set the target arm length, so the default value of the distance there, rotational speed or rotational select set rotate. Sorry, the angle there, and then the camera lag. So again, it's an Unreal feature. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but I really like it. It creates a very smooth movement throughout the gameplay as the character runs around. So it's not too quick. Um, Jumping set to false, so it starts out as the character is not jumping. And first person, so the game will start in third person, not first person. And then from here, this is where I created I added into the tick function, of course, if jumping, if the pair is jumping or selecting to jump, then it jumps. Later on, I'll show you down here under check jump. Um, so here we go. These are the input components. So this is the different movement for the character, horizontal, attach it to this, and then call it the horizontal movement, horizontal rotation, vertical rotation, and the zoom here. So these are the different axes setups, and this is the camera action. So jump here, check jump, and then the binding to the keys. And then a change camera function. So here it checks to see if the player is jumping. So if they're jumping, set it to false. If they're not jumping, then you can set jumping to true. Vertical rotation, here's the zoom. This can be adjusted, of course, but the negative value is so that actually it seems more intuitive, because by default it's counterintuitive. When you go to scroll up, it's actually increasing the distance the camera is from the player, instead of decreasing the distance, and vice versa. Max, if it's between these values, so that there's a minimum and there's a maximum, you can't just zoom in endlessly past the character or zoom out endlessly to see the entire world. First person, if it's in first person, then you could do all these things. If it's in or else attach it to the root component. horizontal rotation, horizontal movement, vertical movement, and I'll show you what that all looks like. So this is all really fun stuff. I haven't actually created a project from the ground up, especially not C++, so that I get to write out all of the different basic movement features like rotation and translation and camera components. So that was something we didn't get to do before. Um, and while during the original artifact creation that I was doing for a previous class, we created the camera director. I didn't know enough about creating the project from the ground up and what the functions are in order to just do away with that timed thing because it was driving me crazy. So that I could write my own. And from here, I actually got to start from the project from the ground up. So I'll show you what that looks like. I just created a very basic landscape here, applied a nice little sand texture. I don't know why it actually has this grid here, but that's the only grid. Um, so a nice little asset that I applied to the landscape just to make it look kind of cool. Um, and so we start in third person. It is limited by the values that I put so that you can't scroll down and then pass all the way around the character. And same, you can't. I'm actually trying to scroll up more or to change the view up more, but there are limits. So that's part of the function that I showed you. And then moving around, you can do that. I can zoom in and zoom out. That's what I'm doing right now by the, and then toggling between this is first person and that is third person, first person, third person. I also set that the as you saw in that function for the camera switch, um, that the values are not uh, translated over, so that if I'm doing something, if I set the angle really high or really low, and then I switch, it goes back to the default, so that it's a less jarring to the player. So all really cool stuff. Really fantastic. Something maybe not all game developers even attempt to do because Unreal just kind of sets you up with basic versions of this. But I feel like getting to know how to create a project from the ground up in C++ gives me a lot more power over my video games and how they function. So nice smooth transitions, nice smooth camera movement rather than just bouncing back and forth in a really jerky manner. Um, and that's my artifact. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you so much.